What's up, everybody? I'm back for another episode of the PG Sports Podcast. Our special guest today is AJ Edelman. He was in the Olympics 2008. What's up, AJ? How's it going?
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good. How about you?
I just arrived at my parents' house in Boston. I'm good.
Gotcha. Where were you before?
I was in New Haven, Connecticut. I go to school at Yale School of Management, but I've just taken a leave of a couple of years to do bobsledding or to rejoin bobsledding. So
Gotcha.
I have left.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's crazy. Actually, I live in Milford.
Oh, you live in Milford. All right.
Yeah. So definitely familiar with Yale. I saw you went to MIT and now you're going to Yale. So that's crazy.
I'm trying to knock all my brains out, man. Like I was given too much. I was given too much at birth, so I'm slowly whittling away.
Yeah. What'd you study at MIT?
Mechanical engineering.
Okay. Well, what did you want to do with that originally?
I don't really know. I don't really know. It was a way of learning how to think and how to process things, and thank God it actually worked out really well because engineering has a lot of application towards bobsledding and skeleton. So sliding sports, I believe, were made far easier by knowledge of physics.
Yeah. Now I saw you also played hockey there.
I did. I was a goalie from youth through university.
Gotcha. Yeah. So how do you even get into the skeleton racing, and like is that even the terminology, skeleton racing? You say racing?
Yeah. So sliding is basically the term that we use. I got into sliding in 2014. I tried it in Lake Placid, New York. I was given a scouting report that said that I would never be competitive and could never qualify for the Olympics. And ever since, I've basically dedicated my life towards proving that as wrong as it possibly could be.
Gotcha. But like, what made you want to do that? Like, what made you want to do skeleton?
I saw it on television, man. I saw it on television. I thought this would be quite a ride.
Gotcha. So
for those who don't know, skeleton is a head-first version of bobsled. It's basically laying on your stomach on a tea tray, and then navigating a mile-long ice tunnel. You hit speeds of about 90 miles an hour, and it's quite the painful trip.
Gotcha. It was one thing, like, since you said you played hockey like all your life, was that like one thing that you wanted to like still do athletics like after college?
Yeah, sports for me were a means of trying to uplift my community. I really wanted to make a change in how people from a Jewish background or an Israeli background viewed their place in sports. We're very underrepresented in sports because of a self-fulfilling cycle or process that we just think it's not for us. So I thought if somebody who's an average Joe pretty much can go and try to accomplish some pretty decent things in sport, it could make a difference. And so that's really how I decided to continue.
Gotcha. So is there, like, did you get to try for like the USA team or no?
I didn't want to. I had no interest in it. It's like I am a very proud American, but America has thousands of prospective skeleton athletes. Israel only had, in my opinion, one person who can get them to the games, and so this was very. This was the only way I thought it would be possible to make a difference in the community that I wanted to make.
Yeah. Now, like, literally, like, through my brain right now, like, I got so many questions because you got so many different things and avenues and things you've done already. Like, it's crazy. I saw that you learned it from YouTube. Like, that's how you got. That's crazy. Like, yeah, tell me about that.
10 to 12 hours of YouTube per day. I couldn't afford a traveling coach. Traveling coaches cost about $40,000 a year. The skeleton season itself costs about $40,000 a year, and Israel doesn't contribute anything to our national program. So it was up to me to self-fund the whole thing, and I couldn't afford the coach. And so I basically just stayed glued to a computer every moment of the day that I was not sliding or at the gym. And those build neural pathways. So anyone who does any sort of sport, the more you repetitively do something, the more you visualize something, it creates a neural pathway in your brain. It strengthens that highway of information to get that info from A to B. And so those neural pathways that I was creating by watching 10 to 12 hours of video per day were very, very strong. And I would be able to go through a bobsled track, basically viewing myself like a drone. You know, I couldn't see in the track because I had scoliosis, and it prevented, like, the musculature in my neck was not strong enough to hold my neck high enough to keep it off the ice. And so in corners, I was blind. But through watching this endless amounts of YouTube video per day, and basically training myself through pain without a coach, I racked up more runs than any other athlete should during that time, and made the games, basically coached by YouTube.
That's great. That's crazy. Like, how did you, like, where did you train? Like, where do you go to, like, train for that?
It's a great question. There's 4 locations in North America now. There's 4 locations in North America now, 3 because Calgary is closed. But you basically need to be at a bobsled track to train during the winter. So Germany has 4 of them. The United States has 2 of them: Park City, Utah, and Lake Placid, New York. And Calgary used to be 1, and Whistler, British Columbia has 1. They travel around to the different bobsled tracks during the season, October through March, and that's basically when you slide.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I'm assuming you were just going to the New York one.
So Lake Placid is where I'd start out for the bobsled journey this year.
Gotcha. Yeah, so what made you go from the skeleton to bobsledding?
Bobsledding was my original love in sliding sport. The original difficulty when getting into bobsled was, first, I was told I was too short and too small. So I'm only about 5'10" and 183 pounds. Mm-hmm. You probably want to be above 6 feet and above 200 for a bobsledder. Somebody just asked what my favorite cereal is. We'll get to it. But bobsled also happens to cost an insane amount of money. Whereas skeleton might cost $40,000 without a coach, bobsled could cost upwards of $350,000. And so it's finding other Jews or Israelis to throw away their careers and sit in the back of a bobsled was not the easiest proposition. Mm-hmm. And so when I tried skeleton, I was hooked. They pad you up like the Michelin Man when you start. And so there was no way that I was going to get hurt. And so I didn't realize just how difficult really it was. I just went down the track. I had the time of my life. It was like being on a roller coaster with no seatbelts. And from there, I was like, skeleton's what I want to do.
Yeah. What was like the very first time you like went down one of the slopes?
So the very first time was, it was kind of just like being taken for a ride. I think, so one of my best friends in the sport, Mitchie Halilovic, who I think has just joined the spring. He was one of the best German sliders that you could ever find. He gave me a lot of advice over the course of my sliding, of my skeleton sliding career. And a lot of times he would basically just tell me to relax and be calm. And I'm anything but a relaxed and calm kind of athlete. Mm-hmm. But the first run, I remember specifically because you are very relaxed and calm when that happens, because your brain can't take in everything, all the stimuli. There's way too much stimuli for your brain to handle the first, I think, 100 times. And so I really didn't know what was going on. I just knew that it was fun.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, what was it like just making the Olympics? And what was it feeling like being there?
So making the Olympics happened in January of 2018, and being there happened February of 2018. So 2 very different feelings. Making it was a wonderful sense of relief and appreciation that my community can finally be, represented in sliding sport. It was something that I had woken up to the Olympic, the John Williams bum 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 theme every day for over 1,000 days. And I watched opening ceremonies footage every day. And so after qualifying, it was a definite sense of appreciation, that my community would have that chance. At the Olympics, for me, it was, and I hope it's different in 2022, should the Bob team make it. It was a job. Going to the Olympics was, and I think I was told by many different athletes, including Mitchie, to enjoy it. But for me, it was, I had a job to do. I had a competition to compete in, and I wasn't going there to just have a fun party. I now know a little more. You should take in and appreciate the surrounding settings, much more often. But for me, I went there and there was a lot to get done. I was still training every day. I was still putting in a lot of video time on YouTube, studying the track notes. We only get a few times to try the track before. We only had 5 days or about 10 runs to try the track before. Oh, this is Lulu, by the way. Hi, Lulu. Before actually going down during the Olympic runs. And so for me, it was a job. That's primarily what it was like being. It's like athlete summer camp, really.
Yeah.
You eat in the same places, you sleep in the same dorms. It's all very much like an athlete summer camp.
Yeah. And how hard is it now that you're training for the 2022 Olympics and you're going to school?
So I've taken a leave from school. It's depending on whether school is online or not. I'll still be in school. If school is online, I'll finish out my studies and complete those studies while doing the training. If school is back physically in the physical location, I have asked for and received a leave of absence for 2 years. So I'll be working full time remotely in that case to be able to make ends meet, and then I'll be back at school in 2023.
Gotcha. And what do you do for a day job?
For a day job, I'm project and product manager at a tech company called Hypergiant. It's a very, very innovative, fun, wonderful company.
Gotcha. What do you do for them?
Project management. Well, so general project management and product management. If a project needs to get off the ground, I'm there shepherding it, and if a product needs to come to market, I'm giving some feedback on it. Gotcha. Yeah, you got a lot of things on your plate. I have my mind doesn't have an off button. It's a negative thing, I think, for an athlete. You should be able to relax and remain calm, and so it's been extremely to my detriment that I don't really have much of a shut off point. But that being said, it does allow for multiple processes to run at any given time. So last night I was both packing up and leaving New Haven, but also on the phone with 3 prospective bobsled athletes who I'd found by scouring rugby rosters for Israeli-looking names.
That's good. So what's like I guess you've been training for bobsledding. So what's like an average day like training look like? So I'm relatively new. So last year I started training in bobsled. I took what was called a driver school. To start, we take a driver school. Driver schools are essentially exactly what they sound like. They need to make sure that you're competent enough to get down the track with somebody who is competent enough to coach you without crashing the sled. And so I took a driver school last year and started training in bobsled, but couldn't find the funds to get the team off the ground. And so I took another hiatus from sliding for a year. I've just gotten back into training, and it's interesting going back from normal kind of civilian life to full-time to athlete life. But much of my efforts are not the physical training is only for an hour or 2 a day in the off season right now. But majority of the time is spent watching YouTube videos again, because I have all these neural pathways that have been created for skeleton. I've watched thousands and thousands of hours of skeleton, but bobsled's a different beast. And so bobsled, I've started to watch, I'm also watching 5-6 hours of bobsled now a day, and that'll ramp up further to the point where I can get to 10 or 12. How fast do the bobsleds go?
Bobsleds go slightly faster than skeleton sleds. Bobsleds go about 140 plus kilometers an hour, whereas a skeleton sled might reach just about 140. So bobsleds, let's say like 92 versus 90 miles an hour.
Gotcha. Like, do you get how much like thrill or like exhilaration do you get from like going down one of those?
It depends. It varies wildly based on which track you're at, how much experience you're at, and what you're trying to accomplish. So if you're out there having a training run on a track that you know very much and you've been down a lot of times, it could feel like flying. It could feel actually quite fun. Most of the times you're at tracks trying to execute on things and to learn new things. And we're always trying as an athlete to improve little by little every day.
And so I never really described skeleton as fun, because skeleton was far more a labor of trying to get somewhere and to accomplish something. But in the times that I did bobsledding last year, I really described it as skydiving with, basically like skydiving with a little more pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a lot of exhilaration. It's a lot of adrenaline. It's a high, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said you're looking for teammates right now for the bobsled training, right?
Yep.
So how many do you need?
So we would be a 4-man crew with myself in the front. So there needs to be at least 3 other people in the back, but the preference is to find 3 and a spare, just for purposes of keeping people fresh.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So what's I know you just kind of touched on it, but like what other things are you going to do to like recruit people?
Aside from scouring rugby rosters, we've asked some help from the Israeli Olympic Committee to try to find to suggest a couple of athletes. But in the coming weeks and months, there will be increased efforts at getting some eyeballs on the program. Mm-hmm. And once eyeballs are on the program and athletes realize that they're, at least for my team, will be somewhat a stipend, the hope is that more athletes will join on.
Gotcha. What about has hockey helped you in any way with this?
I think hockey helped in the hand-eye coordination of things, but it came as a bit of a detriment when it comes to running, because hockey, especially as a goalie, your feet go side to side. They cut in a sideways motion because you're sliding across the ice laterally. But running needs to be done in a forward motion. And so my groin and adductor was greatly weakened through years of punishing it with hockey. And it did cause some problems. But overall, I'd say like an athlete is an athlete, and there's many carryover skills from many different sports. So if anybody is watching who has played one sport, the vast majority of individuals would not be sport specifically good. And I was never good at any particular sport, to be honest. I just tried very hard. But if anybody is an athlete, chances are they could pick up another sport.
Gotcha. Yeah, actually, I saw you won 2 division championships, right, at MIT for hockey.
Yeah, but that was a team effort for sure. MIT had a great team. We played in a conference called Northeast Collegiate Hockey Association, I believe it was, NECHA. Mm-hmm. And we did win 2 divisional championships. So it was definitely a team effort.
Gotcha. Did you ever think about playing for the Israel? Does Israel have national hockey team?
I was offered. So we played Israel in our final kind of game. It was a game to raise money for both teams, and so the Israel national team came to play at MIT, and I was offered a spot. But playing hockey in Israel is really not what I had in mind for trying to move the goalposts on Jewish involvement in sport.
Gotcha. Yeah. So what else? Like, what else do you want to do? Like, what's your goal of like accomplishing? I know obviously the goal is to make it to the bobsled team, but like, is it to get more Jewish athletes in sports?
So there's a couple of goals. One is that I'd like to connect with the communities that I'm very much a part of, communities that have been individuals who have been impacted by mental health, raising mental health awareness, and basically excelling with depression. Talking to Jews and Israelis as well about getting involved in sport, but the bobsled as well is primarily a mission of mine, because I'm not a great athlete. To get the biggest recruitment tool is the Olympics, is getting eyeballs on your program. And so personally, I just don't have fast twitch muscle fibers enough fast twitch muscle fibers to sprint at the level that would be a gold medal contending level. But if we get eyeballs on the program and we qualify for the Olympics, which is in and of itself a major accomplishment for Israel, the hope is that better athletes come in the future and build up the program. And so that is basically the recruiting mechanism which most countries effectively employ, which is once people see you compete, they know it's a possibility, and younger, better athletes come to the program fresh, looking to looking to basically one-up you. And I've been one-upped in skeleton already, pretty much. We have a couple of absolutely terrific sliders. We have Jared Firestone, who is new this year, who's a 10-7 100-meter sprinter, and God, he's fast. We have Joel Seligstein, who has competed on the World Cup this past year. We have Georgina Cohen. So after 2018, we had an influx of interest, and I would love for that to continue and occur in bobsled as well.
Yeah, I know a lot of Olympians get the tattoo. Did you get one?
I did not. It's why I have a necklace. Because of my faith background, religious Jews don't generally go for tattoos, but it's something that I've heavily wondered why I don't have one. But the necklace is the replacement.
So if you go there for a second time, would you get a tattoo or not?
No. I think my parents have been wildly supportive, far beyond my wildest dreams in this, and I think it would be incredibly obnoxious to throw a tattoo in their face every time they saw it.
I got you.
They deal with it.
I got you. Yeah, I actually had to link you up with one of my friends, Adam Greenberg. He played for Israel in the World Baseball Classic.
I know Adam Greenberg.
Oh yeah, you know.
I mean, I we're not friends, but I know of him for sure.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. He lives in Connecticut.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah,
it's
he's from Connecticut. Yeah.
Good thing to know.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else? So yeah, what's it been like at Yale?
I'm sorry. Say it again.
What's it been like studying at Yale?
Studying at Yale has been an interesting experience. It's definitely not something that I had anticipated while going into skeleton the first time around. Mm-hmm. So when I did go into skeleton, the commitment for me was at least until 2022, because the scouting report was so dire. The thought was essentially that it would take at minimum until 2022 to get anything done. Mm-hmm. I think going back to school was just not something that I had on the cards, but having gone back to school, it's been a refreshing experience.
Yeah. Well, what made you go back?
It's a combination of things. I think the biggest impact was that when I was considering doing bobsled last year and was struggling to find the funds to get the team off the ground, I asked a mentor of mine named Bob Frisch. He also happened to support me on the 2018 go around. Mm-hmm. I said, I don't know what to do. I really want to get Israel to the games in bobsled, and I think that I'm the puzzle piece that can get them there. But I can't get this team off the ground financially. And he said, well, why don't you go do an MBA and you'll learn how to better manage the team? What do you do if in 4 years, you finish and the team is where's the team going to be? I said, it's going to be in the same exact spot. No funds. I'll have retired. And so he said, the best way to go about this is to go get an MBA, learn how to manage the team, make connections, learn how to raise funds for them. And that would be the best puzzle piece for you to be for the team itself. I agreed with him for sure. But as school came online in the past couple of months, basically May 2nd or April 2nd is when I decided that, is when I kind of made the decision that this really does have to happen. School is online. I was doing online classes, and I figured if school remains online, I could do this whole thing together. If school doesn't remain online, then the risk reward of just taking a couple of years off is no problem at all.
Gotcha. Well, so I've been asking a lot of people this question when they mention mentors. One, how do you get a mentor? And two, does your mentor know he's your mentor?
I don't think that a mentor, there's no discussion forums for finding mentors or seeking mentors. It just had happened that he's a very smart individual. I basically look for people who are smarter than myself, which is everyone in a room. But
I don't know about that.
If somebody, it's true. I've knocked out all of the brains that I had doing sliding. But I think in terms of it, it's just about developing a sense of trust with somebody and understanding that they have knowledge that you don't. And that takes, humility and understanding that taking their advice is not something which you are bound to do, but considering the advice is something which is very smart to do. does he know
you're his mentor, or you're his mentor, or he's your mentor.
Pretty much. I mean, we don't speak every day. We speak kind of sparingly, but the advice he gives is incredibly profound and has impacted me, heavily in the last year. The decision to go to Yale was heavily predicated on his advice.
Gotcha. What about just college in general? It's always a big subject. Do you think like people should still be going to college in like 2020, like say coming out of high school?
Oh, you mean as opposed to taking a gap year?
Or just not going to college, like just become say in business, like just becoming an entrepreneur, like go and get an internship, not going to college instead.
I'm a fan of people living the lives that they want to live. And so I don't believe that there's a prescription for any particular avenue. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to get to the end. We have a starting point in our lives where we're born, and that's the first page. Then we have an ending page, which we die. And it's up to us to fill in every single page in the meantime. And so there is no real set prescription on what you should do, and everything. Basically, I live my life in that I just want to get to the last page and say, all those other pages were really well done. And so there will be some pretty terrible pages, but for the most part, I'd like to be satisfied with the book. Nobody has to go to college in order to fill their book quite well. College does some exceptional things in getting your foot in the door, and so there is a risk-reward payoff for that. I think as an engineer, I approach a lot of things from expected value. And so the expected value of going to college in certain areas is higher. In certain areas, it's lower. And so, it becomes a trade-off.
I gotcha. And then has there been any, I know since the Olympics this year got postponed, is that affecting 2022 or no?
There's whispers in the Olympic community that it could be pushed off till 2023. The reason being that NOCs, the National Olympic Committees, have limited amounts of funding. And so by moving the summer games to 6 months before the winter games, you've given a sudden cash crunch to the athletes who need it for the winter. And you've continued a funding cycle for athletes who need it for the summer. So moving the games out from winter to 2023 would maintain some sort of 18-month barrier between summer and winter. I've heard whispers, but I don't think it's a serious issue yet.
So, all right. So for you, would you think it would help you or hurt you if it gets moved?
It would help in many ways. It would hurt in some ways. Obviously, taking a leave of absence from school until 2024 would not be ideal, but the ability to train for an extra year would be absolutely welcome.
Okay. What's your goal like after say you get your new NBA and then you're done with the Olympics?
2026, man. We're going until I'm dead. No, I think I'd have to reevaluate everything in life. Things change so rapidly in life. We plan and then God laughs, right? So it's a thing where I haven't really considered it. I've wondered if I would want to go on to, Italy 2026. It's so many things would have to happen for that. The correct funding mechanisms would have to be in place. I'd probably have to run a business in some shape or form and not mortgage my family's future. But then I also need, I need a life partner. So finding a life partner while on the road constantly and doing bobsled is not the easiest thing to do, especially in the Jewish community.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, that's why I don't really like the question, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I see myself at Turin 2026.
What keeps you motivated? Because obviously Olympics is every 4 years. So what keeps you motivated to just keep on training?
It's a combination of positive and negative factors. So positivity is absolutely essential in maintaining motivation for an athlete, but I also believe that a certain sense of self-negativity is also quite critical. I think a lot of people have kind of seen that as well in the MJ doc, and I'm nowhere in the stratosphere of MJ at all, but I think most athletes still who drive towards accomplishing something maintain a very healthy sense of, I failed and I must do better. And so there's a constant battle internally to figure out how I failed and then how to rectify it and then how to get to the goal. And so that will always push will always push barriers and push personal boundaries. But the positive side of things is that I believe in my community. I love making a difference in my community. I love representing above all my community. And so quitting, which I did originally in 2016, is just not an option when you feel like you're stealing from your community. If you're stealing the opportunity that they've given you, I view athletes as basically meaningless pawns for the most part. And you're given any sort of importance by the country who's moving you around. So if the country gives you the ability to wear its flag, you suddenly gain some sort of relevance. Otherwise, you're just taking a T-tray down a bobsled track, right? So my viewpoint on it was always that if I quit, I was stealing the opportunity that Israel had gifted to me, and they had given it to me with the understanding that I would try as hard as I could. And so that's like kind of the positive motivating factor, which is I have people to represent.
Have you been to Israel?
Oh yeah, I'm Israeli. I mean, I'm American Israeli, obviously, but I spent a gap year there. I fell in love with the country in 2006. I went on a program through the summer that traveled Israel. The second Lebanon war broke out during that time period, and we had to shelter in place at the King Solomon Hotel in Jerusalem for much of the time, as you know, kind of rocket sirens were wailing all around. During that summer, I absolutely fell in love with the place. I adore Israel. It's slightly less convenient than the United States, to be fair, when it comes to things like grocery shopping and taxes, but it's an exceptional place, and I love it. I'm so very, very proud to be Israeli.
Gotcha. Are you ready for some fun questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
What other sports do you like watching on TV?
It's a good question. Bobsled. I like watching bobsled. It's an interesting question because I can barely watch hockey anymore because I'm constantly analyzing what the goalies are doing, and the fun has been kind of sapped out of watching it, so to speak.
Okay.
And if I'm watching it with somebody, I'll be able to point out a couple of seconds before, like the goal is probably going to be scored, or a split second that goalie's not going to get across that's going in, which is it takes a lot of the enjoyment out of it. And then other sports I didn't really have time for. It takes time to watch sports, and time is just not a luxury that I had in training.
Did you ever think about becoming a hockey coach?
I am a hockey coach. I mean,
right.
I coach privately. I do coach privately, but if you mean on a team, then no. There are far better qualified individuals who can coach a full team. I'm a goalie coach, and I feel very proud of my abilities at goalie coaching.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you know all that stuff, they might hire you just to be like the scout. My bad.
Sorry, you cut
yeah.
off for a moment.
You can hear me?
Yeah, you just got back.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, they might hire you just to become like a scout or something.
After bobsled, we'll see what's going on. After bobsled, we'll see in 2026.
You ever seen Moneyball?
I have. It's a very
You could be the you could be the Moneyball of hockey.
I really think that I have other things in store for myself in the future than the Moneyball of hockey, but we will see. Bobsled generally takes you in some weird directions.
Gotcha. All right. Renee asked, "What's your favorite cereal?"
Oh man, I love, if there's milk in it, Reese's Puffs is so legit because the milk tastes so good. But you also get that effect from Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Pebbles. So Fruity Pebbles, Cocoa Pebbles, and Reese's Puffs are the go-to if there is milk. If there's no milk, then I gotta go with Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which is so good.
You just eat it plain? You can just eat it plain?
Oh yeah, for sure. I just sit down in front of the TV, throw on some bobsled, and just start. Bobsled. I need to put on some weight. So like just eating straight Cinnamon Toast Crunch and training and watching some bobsled on television is a great way to do that.
What about you? You put the cereal in first, or you put the milk in first?
Does anybody put the milk in first? You probably profiled as a murderer at that point. Like that's one of those criminal profiles. They're like, did he put the milk in first? They're like, yeah. They're like, he did it. He fucking did it. Like,
Yeah, you gotta put the cereal in first.
Yeah.
What about when you're not doing school, working, or training? What do you like to do in your free time?
Free time. I love to play with Lulu. Lulu's my pup over there. He's such a good little dude. Let's see. That's pretty much it. That's what I have time for. I collect production art for animation, which is a fun hobby.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So have you tried the New Haven pizza?
I have tried New Haven pizza, and I really don't understand why people are so up on it. I just don't get it. Coal-fired pizza to me. I mean, I'm a huge fan of sushi. I'm a sushi chef, so I make sushi every single day as a means of kind of maintaining the skill. It's kind of like sports training. You do it every single day, you get a little better every day. But I also used to make flatbread pizzas every day, and I think I did it for something like 500 days straight. And to me, I take a very harsh view on what constitutes a great pizza, and then everything else kind of falls into the category of acceptable to eat. I'm getting my fill of greasy fats.
So, well, then I gotta ask you then. So, Boston pizza or New Haven pizza?
There is Veggie Crust here in Boston, which is absolutely terrific. In my opinion, it's really, really good. So I'll take Veggie Crust over any of the New Haven places any day.
All right. Yeah. Oh, you said you're a sushi fan. What's your go-to spot in Boston? What's your go-to spot in New Haven?
I make my own. I don't go anywhere to I make my own. I get fish that's been flown in from Japan, and I definitely make my own sushi. It's just a labor of love. Plus, it's cheaper to make your own with fish that's flown in than to buy, $7 rolls.
That's interesting. Did you learn from YouTube to make sushi too?
No, I learned from a couple of chefs in Japan. I've been there about 18 times.
Oh, gotcha. All right, so that's interesting. So what makes you go to Japan so much?
For me, it's like Japan is like an antidepressant almost. If I need a mental reset, if I need any sort of mental reset, Japan is the place to be. The moment I land in Japan, it's like an instant smile on the face. It's kind of like landing in Israel. Although Israel is far more expensive to get to generally than Japan. But when I land in Israel, I have a smile. Usually there's a couple of tears because it's such a special feeling to land in a place that you feel is truly a homeland for you. But Japan always puts a smile on my face, and I just fell in love with it as well in 2012 when I visited for the first time.
Gotcha. What about when you're making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, do you use grape jelly or strawberry?
I haven't made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in a long time, but I feel like grape jelly is also one of those things that you would be naturally profiled as a psychopath. So it's gotta be strawberry, man. It's gotta be Smucker's strawberry jelly.
All right. What about if you got to pick any athlete right now to be on your bobsled? Actually, we'll just give you all three. Which athletes would you want to be on your bobsled team?
Neely Block, who is an amazing Muay Thai world champion for Israel. She is absolutely terrific. Let's see who else. Nate Ebner, who is a former New England Patriot, Jewish dude, rugby player, would no doubt be very, very good.
Have you reached out to him?
The guy's making millions of dollars a year. My $1,200 a month stipend for him ain't going to cover anything. So, I mean, the dude could fund the team, but I don't know why he would join bobsled when he could do football. There's slightly less CTE in bobsled, though. Maybe that's a selling point. I think that the third dude, if I had my pick, the third dude would be Heath Spence. Heath Spence is an Australian bobsledder, is my best friend, and he's just a terrific, wonderful dude. And there's nobody I'd love to have in the back of a sled more than Heath Spence.
Gotcha. Well, I think that's all the questions I got for you. Appreciate you coming on, and I'll definitely be tuning in and watching you train and make it to the 2022 Olympics.
Thank you very, very much. Look forward to future talks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll have to contact you when you're back here.
For sure. All right. Take care.
All right. Have a good one.